Right now at 11, killed after she showed kindness. What court records allege led a man to stab a woman in her own home. Plus, layoffs loom at Nike, how the athletic giant plans to make changes to save billions. And later,
there are people in need in the community that need a helping hand.
Why a local program that's been linking mentors with youth for 2 decades is shutting down, and why those involved say it is not the end. Good evening, everyone. We begin tonight with the murder of a Scappoose woman who was allegedly killed by a man she had allowed into her home, it appears, out of the goodness of her heart. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. The man charged with killing Rhiannon Meyer appeared in court today as friends prepared to hold a vigil tomorrow for a woman they describe as generous and loving. Tim Gordon with our top story.
Friends of Rhiannon Meyer want you to see her face, to see who they've lost. They describe the 34-year-old as a vibrant person who did everything she could to be good to others.
She was an amazing spirit. She would give you the shirt off of her back. Anything for anybody at any time.
Brandy Schultz said she'd known Rhiannon for a dozen years, becoming friends through their working in the tavern business in Scappoose. Rhiannon at Longfellow's Inn, Brandy at the Wigwam.
She just was amazing. Nothing ever bothered her. She had a good time in life.
But everything changed Tuesday afternoon when Rhiannon was stabbed at her home. Her mother called 911 to report it. Police found Rhiannon with her mom outside the front door, but could not save her. Police say the suspect, 40-year-old Derek Welter, took off and was captured in rural Columbia County Tuesday night.
I was told that he was recently introduced to her, and knowing Rhiannon, she was probably trying to help him.
Court documents back up that theory, indicating that Welter is homeless and Meyer had let him shower and do laundry at her home. Welter was arraigned on Thursday in a Columbia County courtroom and now faces very serious charges of murder, assault, and unlawful use of a weapon. The judge ordered him held without bail. But the focus for friends is on supporting each other as they grieve a shocking loss and finding a way to support those closest to Rhiannon, who they say was a wonderful mother, too.
I feel horrible for her family. Her mom's amazing. Her aunt's amazing. All of her friends and family are amazing. And I feel really bad for her little girl.
As they try to stay strong for each other, remembering someone they described as an angel.
I think we rally, we do what we can, and we'll be there for her family. And we will always remember her.
Tim Gordon reporting there. Meyer's vigil is scheduled for tomorrow night at 10 at the Longfellow's Inn where she worked. Welter is set to appear in court again next week. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, we have new details on a police shooting that left one man dead in Hillsborough over the weekend. Hillsborough police say the man who was shot dead, now identified as Christopher Andrews, had been previously convicted of domestic violence against the woman they say he was holding hostage. He was also violating, they say, a no-contact order. Police had 2 officers shot at Andrews while attempting to rescue the victim Sunday at a condo on Northeast Merriam Way. Andrews later died. The victim suffered minor injuries. No officers were hurt, but the 2 who shot Andrews remain on leave. Portland police are trying to find the person who shot a man in a parking garage at the Lloyd Center. This is around 1 this afternoon. Police tell us the victim has potentially life-threatening injuries. No word there on a suspect. A TriMet rider is in the hospital with serious injuries after they were dragged this morning by a MAX train. This was just before 11 at the Beaverton Transit Center. According to TriMet, the rider was wearing a long coat and had gotten off the train, but as the doors were closing, the rider put part of their coat into the door at the last minute. The train then took off, dragging them along the platform. Parts of the MAX Blue and Red lines were shut down following that incident. In our homeless crisis tonight, one of Portland's largest homeless camps has now been slated for removal. We are talking about the stretch along Northeast 33rd Drive near the airport, one that is filled with vehicles, including broken down RVs. Now, the city tells us removal will take at least 4 days, and PBOT will be involved because they are responsible for removing those vehicles. The city says outreach teams are now working to connect people living in those vehicles with resources and other options.
By the 1st of February, everybody's got to be gone, or they're going to tow both sides of the road. Everything that everybody owns or whatever, it'll be gone.
Everybody will basically bounce from here, probably most likely over to Delta Park, post up at Delta Park for a while until they said they got to bounce and then end up right back over here.
All right now it's unclear when the city plans to start removal or where people living along 33rd will go. By the way, the Safe Park Village for people living in RVs is a street away, and while the city says yes, it has space, campers tell us they need a referral, which some say has been hard to come by. Meanwhile, tonight is the winter solstice and also the longest night of the year, with vigils being held across the Northwest and the country to remember those who died while homeless. Alma McCarty is in the newsroom tonight. Alma, you spoke to people about why these types of memorials are so significant. What'd you learn?
Well, David, the organizers hope to convey today and really every day that these people who were homeless, who were struggling, were people with loved ones and with stories. And tonight it was about honor, but also hope.
For people living outside, the longest night of the year takes on a different meaning.
You better be ready, or else it might be difficult to survive.
Daniel Kohler stays in a shelter and has for the last 13 months.
I at least have the 8 hours of rest indoors.
But he says he knows all too well the struggles of life on the streets.
I lived outside for over a year without going in. And it was rough, you really can't slip. You have to take care of yourself. You have to stay warm. You have to eat healthy if you want to live.
Heartbreaking honor to be here.
In Portland's Old Town, both sheltered and unsheltered people came together to remember those who died this year. Each name read aloud.
Donna Taylor, Paris Brewer, Victor Tyrell, and Jimmy Brown.
This year is extremely tender for all of us.
This memorial only a day after Multnomah County reported more than 300 homeless people had died in 2022, a record high. Crystal Delahanty of PDX Saints Love says the community is hurting.
Nobody out here is just giving up. And, I can say that from my own story. I'm 11 years clean and sober. But when I was living out here, I just was screaming on the inside for somebody to please see me and hear me and value me and to remember that I'm still inside here. And I want them to remember the same for the people that we're honoring tonight.
In Oregon City, a similar scene.
The majority of these names on this list are friends of ours. They've been participants in our program. We knew them very, very intimately and as our friends.
So we have the privilege of being out here in warm clothing for an hour, where our folks are out overnight without a lot of the supplies or a place to go to get out of the cold weather.
So the line started back there.
Back in Old Town, all of these efforts and the very act of remembering, making the longest night also a night of hope.
Being able to lean on one another and collaborate and pull all of our community-based organizations together to use this night to heal and mend together, it was pretty important.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
An update tonight. More than 500 unionized workers at Powell's Books have voted to accept a new contract. The contract dispute had gone on for almost a year and led to a one-day strike back on Labor Day, Powell's first in more than 2 decades. Workers were pushing for increased benefits, wages, and restored seniority and vacation time for workers who were laid off and then rehired during the pandemic. The new contract meets those demands, including a 28% wage bump over 4 years, higher base pay for new employees, and lower health care costs. The contract will take effect at the start of the new year. You're watching KGW News. Straight ahead at 11 on this Thursday, trying to save $2 billion in 3 years, where Nike says it plans to make some big changes. Plus, feeling more hopeful than crabby, hear from Oregon fishermen about this year's harvest.
And boy, the fog has been thick in Portland. Great time lapse of it thickening up over downtown as well. Meanwhile, up at the mountain earlier today, we had sunshine, but the clouds are moving in now. And speaking of the mountain, we've got the ski report for you. Oh, Skeeble.